Okay, this is a tutorial on how to make a trading card game like foil pack at home. So this is how it's broken down. Is the first part is how you make the cards, and the last part is how you make the packs, which is more of what's been asked. So for the cards, you basically just find the document size that you want, and you design it, and then you can print it. You can either outsource this or you can just print it at home. For the packs, the biggest thing is just making sure that the sizing is right and that it's printed on holographic sticker paper. That's pretty much like the biggest things. And then assembling the pack is more like a trial and error type of deal, but I'll give you like tips and tricks on how I did it. So again, part one, how to make the cards. So for the examples that I have shown, I just outsourced mine through Moo. Very straightforward. I really like it. No sponsor, whatever. You don't have to outsource, by the way. You can just print this at home. Here are two great videos of how you can literally just print it on paper at home. It's great. But regardless, here's an example of sizes Moo provides. So I stuck with the 2 by 3.5. But regardless of whatever size, you will just make a document according to the size and have your guidelines. And basically, what these guidelines are is you have your bleed, your cut, and all the important stuff is inside. So to reiterate, all of this will be the bleed. This is what literally gets cut out, and then this is the safe zone. So the green area is because there's like the cutting marks, important stuff could potentially get lost. So avoid that area for important information. Then what was next was just acquiring a bunch of images or whatever you need for your project. So for example, for this Rockstar Energy Tour project, I just accumulated a bunch of images from these bands. Then the fun part is designing. So here's just an example of a bunch of cards that I designed, but the biggest part that I want to highlight is having this bleed that I was talking about, because for some reason, I designed it with the bleed, but I sent it out for printing without it. So that meant that the bleed was just a white area, and therefore you can see these very thin white lines. And then once you have your cards, you can just print them either at home or via outsourcing. Now, once you have your cards, it comes making the packs. So to do this, you basically will take the measurement of your cards and measure your pack design. Then you will design your pack and importantly print it on holographic sticker paper and assemble. You can simply just take a piece of paper or anything and wrap it around the size of the card, and that will tell you the document size that you need. So you start off with, again, the size of your card. So for example, I did a 2 by 3.5. So for the length, I just did the length of the card itself with margins on either end of about 0.65 inches or about 1.5 centimeters on the top and bottom. So that gave me a total length for the foil pack to be about 12 centimeters. Then for the width, it's just the width of your cards front and back. So that's double times 2. And then you'll need kind of this folding allowance. And this allowance will change based off of how thick your cards are or how many you are stacking. For the project that I did that had about 6 cards, having a distance or a gap of 0.6 centimeters was great. And then you have your closing allowance, and again, these will be the flaps that completely close everything, and that is also dependent on the thickness of your cards and how many cards you have. But using about 6 cards or less, having an allowance of about 1.5 centimeters should be fine. Adding this all together will give you a total of about 5.5 inches in width or 14 centimeters. So again, the length was about 12 centimeters and then the width 14 centimeters. Once you have that, then you can add your guidelines. So this is kind of like the spacing that I have, where you have your normal card, a little over half on either side of a card, and then the top and bottom. I also add notches, and these notches will remain even for the printing, so that way I know where to fold, because these aren't just our design guidelines, these are also our folding guidelines. So to reiterate, this is what your document would look like: a front area, your back area, and your fold. And this is kind of what it looks like, the little flap here for fold. And here's just an example of when I was getting started. where you can take inspiration from a lot of different trading cards. These are just examples of Pokemons, but like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering. If you just were to walk into like Target or any game shop and flip to the back of a foil pack, you'll get a lot of inspirations. But as you can see here, the text is in the same orientation, so just keep that in mind. So either all left or all right. And again, this is the back. Then you just design and have some fun. This is what your document may look like, of a very clear front and center, and then your back. Now when it comes to printing, as mentioned earlier, you want to print on holographic sticker paper to give you the effect. You could print on normal holographic paper. However, when it comes to assembling, it's just a lot easier for the paper itself to already have an adhesive backing. And you can see there's various types of papers you can find from different people. It's very important to read the instructions, because depending on the sticker paper, it depends on what type of printer you should use. As you can see here, inkjet and laser, so just read carefully. Now, once you have designed your document, you'll be able to make a new document that's the size of the paper. Typically, most of these have been 8.5 by 11, so you just make an 8.5 by 11 document sheet, and it should fit 2 of the designs. So you can print 2 wrappings on 1 sheet of paper. Then you'll print it out and cut it. When it comes to printing, again, I've tried it on this laser jet. It didn't take the paper. The paper was too thick, so it like jammed a lot. But this other printer that I had access to in Envy, it was able to print, though some troubleshooting that you may want to do that I did that worked was making sure that there were no other paper in the tray, that only the paper you are working with is in there. So that just meant you had to upload 1 paper once at a time. Obviously this will be different depending on printers, but if you're just running into issues, try that. Also, it's very important to demo the holographic paper in terms of whatever colors you want to use for your design. So for example, I noticed that black or very dark colors don't reflect or don't have the holographic reflection as well. So I tried avoiding dark colors. And most importantly is, once you print on this holographic paper, you must let the ink dry at least 30 minutes. You're going to be folding this paper and touching it, and you don't want to smear any of the ink. Now it comes to assembling. Again, you have, or hopefully you'll have, 2 designs on 1 sheet of paper. You can cut it out, and then you have these notches here that will allow you to just fold it over. You can use a straight edge to help, and you can see here there's a crease from the top, the bottom, the sides, and the flaps. So again, you can just see these dashed lines. When it came to assembling, I opted to having a little backing on the bottom, and this just made assembling a bit easier given that the adhesive is pretty sticky. Okay, so here's me cutting out as a demo using an old sheet. So it's quite simple. You'll just first cut out your pack, and then you can see here the notches, and these will be guidelines, as I mentioned earlier, to fold. And then here I am folding where the notches guided me to fold. And you can also just use a straight edge to fold it. So enjoy folding. This might be confusing, but I accidentally printed on the back, so don't do that. This is also why I didn't use this foil pack. So here's an example where I keep the backing so that way the cards don't stick to anything, and then I'll only remove the backing where I need to close everything up. So I'll be removing from the top and the sides. And then on the bottom, as I mentioned earlier, I leave a little bit. And this will allow putting the cards in to be a whole lot easier. So when I take off the backing, I like to use a straight edge or hard surface to give a pretty clean cut. Also, when I remove the backing, I just score it with the sharp edge. I'm not cutting the foil pack, I'm just scoring the paper to remove it. Now, assembling, I found the best method is putting the edges first. And then it makes a weird shape, but you're able to push it down. And then the bottom part, where it's not sticky, I can slide the cards through. And then I'll pinch the sides first until it meets in the middle. And then I'll push it in the direction that I want the flap to go into. And I do the same on the other side to close up the bottom. And that's it, you're done. You assembled it. You can do zigzag stitches, zigzag cuts. But yeah, these packs do open up with time. So here's an example of just the next morning. And yeah. There you have it. So here's just another example of a different way you can assemble it, but you'll see here in this example it was a little bit troublesome. I've assembled about 30 of these, so the first method I think is the most optimal method, but again, everyone has their own ways. Here, as I'm assembling it differently, you'll see that I mess up and that the sticky adhesive is a little bit forgiving because I'm able to pry it open and realign everything. So just don't worry about that. Oh, there it goes. Gently reopening. And realigning. Bada bing, bada boom. And you're done. And then here's just another example of folding using a straight edge or hard surface. So yeah, it's easy. You guys got this. And once you assembled, you're basically done. What you could do is just use some zigzag scissors or any type of decorative scissors to trim off the very edges, and that will give you a cool design. And you can just cut off any of the print guide notches on the top. I also noticed with some of the holographic papers that I've used that after a few days or a few hours, the adhesive on the tops will kind of pop off. So to prevent that, I would just use clothespins to seal it up until a few hours before the event. And then at the event, the seal is pretty good, so people have trouble opening it. So it is sturdy, it is durable, the adhesive. And with that being said, when you're assembling, big piece of advice is to just be patient and be careful. If you do mess up, it is a little bit forgiving, and this will allow you to make your own foil pack card. So yes. Oh Lord.